Burnley 0, West Ham United 2 then. Massive result for West Ham in our bid for survival. A massive 3 points. We needed to get the job done. We did. And I just wanted to share my belated thoughts on the game. Before I do though, if you can subscribe to my channel, if you haven't done so already, it'd be much appreciated. Getting closer to the 100 mark. And if you can drop a like on the video, that will too be appreciated. So I didn't have a chance to share my thoughts and record yesterday. And it's been done with, we've heard a lot about the game since it finished. But I just wanted to share my thoughts on it. Build up to a massive game tomorrow against Man United under the lights at the London Stadium. So Burnley 0, West Ham United 2, big result. It was obviously a real high pressure game for us. I think after the result of Leeds Forest Friday night, I think had we not won, it would have been a real big issue. I think that could have been us gone. So we needed to win the game. We did. I think we delivered a solid professional performance, particularly after the previous week, which was so chaotic. And got the job done. In terms of the lineup, I think Nuno, I was surprised, to be honest with you. I thought there was 3 big calls. Obviously, Hermansen for Areola in goal was the first one. Disasi coming in for his debut. And then Wilson preferred to Pablo up top. Now, in terms of Hermansen, I thought it was a big call, to be honest with you. And I think if that would have gone wrong, if Burnley, let's say Burnley scored from a set piece and we went on to either lose or draw, I think Nuno would have been in for a lot of criticism. Because I don't think Areola has done a lot wrong, to be honest with you. I think he's had a pretty good season given his standards. I don't think he's the best keeper in the world. He's still vulnerable from crosses, but I don't see him being the reason we've conceded so many goals and not kept so many clean sheets. But having said that, if Hermansen's done well in training, which Nuno suggested he has, and he wanted to give him a try, and something that's a bit of an unquantifiable sort of metric, if you like, with goalkeepers is the confidence that they give to the defence and the rest of the team. And if Nuno feels like Hermansen gives more confidence to the defence, then I'd be surprised at that. But if that's the case, obviously I'm not privy to the training ground sessions. I don't know what goes on a daily basis. And if that is the case, then fair enough. He deserves his chance in between the sticks. And he kept a clean sheet. Now, was he severely tested? No. Was there a few jittery moments, particularly at the beginning? Yes. So jury's still out, to be honest with you, on this one. I expect him to start again against Man United, and then I expect him to be tested a lot more heavily. And we'll see how he does. I'm not too sure. I think out of the 2 keepers, I still prefer Areola, but we'll see. And look, if Hermansen can continue to keep clean sheets, and the 2 clean sheets we have kept this season have both been with him in goal. So, it was a surprise, that one, but I think he got away with it, Nuno. And then Disasi, I think, again, was a good call in the end, to be honest with you, at the end of it. He came in and did really well on his debut. A really solid performance, given that he hasn't kicked a competitive ball for, nearly a year. I think he looked really comfortable. Now, again, this is all sort of with the context that Burnley didn't really overly test him in the 90 minutes, but you can only play what's in front of you, and I think Disasi did really well. And then Wilson in for Pablo. To be honest, I think that's just a change in terms of giving Pablo a rest. We saw against Chelsea, both Tati and Pablo after 60 minutes were absolutely knackered. And I think to bring Wilson in was just a change, just to freshen it up, meaning that Pablo could come off the bench if we needed him to see the game out, which we did. And then hopefully going into Tuesday, Pablo comes back in and has got hopefully a bit more fresher legs to run around against United, because that's going to be needed. So, I think all in all, 3 calls. At the end of the day, we won the game. So you got all 3 calls right, you have to say. But, I was dubious going into the start of the game when I saw the lineup. In terms of the game, I won't run through it. Again, you've probably seen it many times now. I think the goals have been put all over social media over and over again, particularly the second goal, which was a really good goal. It was good to see us playing with that confidence again in that first 45 minutes. The last, 4 games now, Tottenham, Sunderland, Chelsea, and now Burnley. The first 45 minutes we've looked so dangerous going forward. And that continued, and Fernandes obviously breaks for the first goal. Fernandes, again, I thought was magnificent. Perfectly timed ball into Somerville. And again, we talk about Somerville's lack of end product earlier in the season, but he's sort of showing now that he's a real confidence player. And when he's got confidence, he will put a goal, he will score goals. And and cause problems for the other team, and that's what he did. Lovely little dinked finish. And first player to score 5 in a row since Jesse Lingard, which I thought was an interesting stat. So really good form from Lingard, from Somerville. Hopefully that continues on Tuesday. He scored his first ever goal for West Ham against United. So maybe that's a good omen going into tomorrow night. And then the second goal I thought was brilliant. The second goal was just sort of similar, not in its sort of sense itself, but the way we sort of moved the ball quickly and decisively was similar to the second goal we scored against Chelsea. Ball obviously started from Fernandes. Every sort of good move seems to start from Fernandes. Punches it into Somerville. Again, we talk about confidence. I think a less confident Somerville tries to take a touch there with Kyle Walker coming back up his backside, but he takes a touch and then tries to move it on to Juve. Somerville, full of confidence, just touches it round the corner, straight to Juve, who just sets himself, as he always seems to do. You know it's coming. You know what he's going to try to do. He gets it out his feet, one touch, and then it's ping, and he curls in a brilliant cross, as we've seen him do, particularly in pre-season. It feels like we haven't seen it enough this season from Juve, and maybe it's lack of opportunities, lack of players on the end of it. But we couldn't say that this time, because it puts in a delicious cross, and Tati puts it away, and that's a harder header than it looks. Just to get, I think if he gets too much on it, it goes past the near post. Just sort of glances it, just helps it on its way into the back of the net. I really like that goal. But I think we were really good in that first half. Then we go into half time, and it was a little bit of Groundhog Day going up from last weekend, and I thought, let's start the second half well, which we sort of didn't really. I think we had another 10-minute spell where we looked really shaky. But this time, credit where it's due, because I gave Nuno criticism last week for his substitution against Chelsea, where I think he got it all wrong. But credit where it's due, I think he got the sub right this time. He brought Wilson off, who was flagging, obviously played his sort of 56 minutes, and didn't look like he was producing too much for the team at that point. So him coming off, I think, was a sensible move, and bringing Freddie Potts on just to add another midfielder into the game. Get control of the ball again, which we sort of instantly did. It just seemed to calm us down. He had a sort of series of passes with Fernandes. It was just basically like, right, I'm on the pitch now. Let's get hold of the ball again. Let's control it. We should be able to do that against Burnley. It's obviously more difficult to do that against a side like Chelsea. But I thought that was the change we should have made last weekend. But credit where it's due, he made it this weekend, and nice series of passing from Potts to get us back in the game, get us control of it, and just nullify their attacking threat. And that kind of sucked all the belief out of Burnley. They kind of just never really regained any momentum from there. And we saw it out, and I think we maybe could have got a third on the counter-attack, but it didn't look like we were desperate for it. It looked like we were just happy to see the game out. And all in all, a good 3 points, a much-needed 3 points. Individually, I think there was, again, some really good performance. I've touched on Disasi. I thought he's, for a first start, I thought he was very, very good. Wan-Bissaka down the right-hand side. Had a couple of moments in the second half, which I was pulling my hair out at, but other than that, he was very solid. I think, again, the midfield too, really good. Souček, bit of an understated role alongside Fernandes, but he is he just gets the job done. He just is there for the bits and bobs, the bits you don't necessarily sort of see on Match of the Day or anything. Just tidies things up. He gets his head to the ball. When Burnley were putting some balls into the box and putting pressure on us in that second half, he was there and he was getting them clear. So I think, again, not an amazing performance, but you don't need that from Thomas Souček. You just need a 7 out of 10 ideally. And I think he delivered that alongside Matheus Fernandes, who again was fantastic. I think he's by far and away for me Hammer of the Year. He's been absolutely brilliant, and another really strong performance. Controlled the game really. Obviously set the first goal up, but also it was almost like the pre-assist for the second goal. That ball into Somerville got the move going. And he is an absolutely priceless player at the moment for us, and we need him to stay fit for the rest of the season. Somerville, again, like I said, just red hot form, performed really well, and I think Tati as well had a good game. Obviously helps that he scored a goal. Hopefully he can continue that. notch a few more times, because we need him scoring. We can't just rely on Somerville and Bowen for the goals. If we can get Pablo and Tati sort of chipping in as well with 3 or 4 goals each until the end of the season, I think that'll be a big help in trying to survive. So on to Man United then. A massive game tomorrow. They're just all massive at this stage, obviously. But the fact that we played before Nottingham Forest, I believe, I think Forest play on the Wednesday against Wolves. But if we beat United, which it's going to be a difficult task, but that means we're level on points with Forest, and that puts all the pressure on them in their game against Wolves, which you would expect them to win. But pressure does funny things to teams, and I think if they go into that game level on points with us, that might cause a bit of an upset. And Wolves have been better since Rob Edwards joined. They've lost a little bit belief in recent weeks, and have lost quite a few games, but I still think they can upset a team, and I think they've got some decent players still. So I don't think that's a foregone conclusion that Forest beat Wolves. And I think, like I say, if we can really turn the screw on them after our game against United, I think we might see a shock result there. But obviously, got to do our job first. United in red hot form. The geezer with a massive hair is looking for the infamous 5th win for United. Let's hope it doesn't happen. I'll do a preview before the game, so hopefully join me for that. But yeah, until then, come on, you Irons.